Hey there, this is Brian Terrian from the Disability Digest with a concerning look on my face because of what's happening at Social Security with some individuals having major amounts of their financial benefits just wiped out. I'm going to talk to you about what it is and why it's happening, in my opinion, how to prevent it. And then the regulation I'll include in this as well. So it's not just happening here at the Disability Digest. This is something that's happening industry-wide with other colleagues that I have that do this work and helping people get approved. So it has to do with the disability applicant's onset date. The date that you said that you were disabled and were not able to work because of your conditions. So let's say that you got approved today and that date was actually 12 months ago. And I'm just going to use a real general example. So that would mean if that onset date held up, then you would be entitled to 12 months of back benefits, right? So what's happening is Social Security is saying, no. You weren't disabled 12 months ago, you were disabled last month. So it eliminates all of those months of income. Like for individuals that this has happened to in the last 3 months here, it's a total of $105,000. One individual, it was $48,000 that they lost. So that's the challenge. Again, it is the date that you stopped working because of your disability. Now, some people stop working because they're laid off or they just don't want to work. That's a whole different deal. But when you have a medical event that prevents you from working, that is what the onset date is. And again, the regulation will be below this. So let's talk about why it's happening. I mean, the obvious theory that a lot of people have is, well, they're trying to save money. That's one. Two, they have a lot of untrained staff, that is at Social Security. But three, it could clearly be that your case was not put together so that the medical records and supporting evidence allowed Social Security to understand that you qualified. So that's what we're going to talk about. And the steps that you can do, same steps our legal team does now. We definitely have to up our game in this to make sure this doesn't happen. But first thing is on that list is to understand, like, the date that you're using, was it a date that was health related that you stopped working? And if that's the case, perfect. Maybe you had some major medical event. We'll go through a list here in a minute. And it wasn't because you were laid off or you didn't want to work. It just wasn't one of those. So what you need to prove is you need to have that, the date that you stopped working, you have to look at your medical records. You don't have to, but you should, or have your legal team do it, and see what evidence is in there that supports the fact that on this given date, 12 months ago, that you were not able to work. And if there isn't anything in there, it's going to be difficult for Social Security to look at your medical records and say, hey, although they say this, I don't see anything. So I see, okay, well, last month the doctor said this. And that could very well be what is could be an issue for you. So what are some of those events that you could have? You could have the onset of a diagnosis. Perhaps you've been struggling with work and you didn't know why, and you were fatigued and missing work, and you were diagnosed with MS or an autoimmune condition or something else like that. That was a new diagnosis. Could be a surgery. Maybe you need to have, a heart surgery, major surgery, but as a result of the surgery, you're not going to be able to return to work. Maybe you had an accident, a physical accident, that had damaged your back or some other functionality of you. So a stroke is another common one. So in some of the situations that we looked at, we had an individual that had cancer that was on chemo, and the chemo was devastating, and it was multiple days, a month, and it would take him out for like 3 to 4 days at a time. And it was it was extensive for a long period of time, and that started the decline of the health. But what could have happened in that situation is this individual had so much medical information that, you know, perhaps Social Security didn't see, and that wasn't clear to them. So we're going to talk about what you can do to appeal this in a minute. But we had another individual that had life-threatening calcium levels and was in for a regular doctor's checkup, who immediately had him go to the hospital and hospitalized him for a surgery as soon as possible. And from there, he just couldn't recover and go back to work. We had another one who had a career where he needed to be on his feet and had foot surgery that wouldn't allow him to stand for an extended period of time. So those are three different situations that, if that information was clearly or better communicated to Social Security, then it could have locked in their onset date. So what can really help this is two things. One is your doctor's support letters. They're called residual functional capacity report letters. And at the end, I'll tell you how you can get that information from us here. These are letters that the doctor would fill out, their template forms, confirming that they treat you, what their opinion is on your limitations, when the condition started, how many days they believe that you would be out of work. That basically summarizes your medical treatment. So that can definitely help you. They're recognized by Social Security. It takes 7 to 9 minutes for the doctor to fill those out. The next thing that can help is that if you're using a disability representative, have them go through and look at your case file, all the evidence that is in the Social Security case file, the medical records that have been accumulated, and have them write a legal brief that explains and locks in your onset date. Now, you could do this in kind of layman's terms on your own, but it's difficult for you to compete with the quality of somebody who writes legal information every day. Just frankly, we provide you with a course to do it, but having that learning curve this quick going through the application process is really difficult. But you could make a simple statement that points that out and communicate it to Social Security. So those are two things: doctor's support letters and then a legal brief. So let's say this does happen to you, or it has happened to you. What are your options? Well, option one is the common one that most people do. They don't do anything. And the reason why they don't do anything is, is because if you appeal it, you risk losing everything. And here's how. At the initial application level, if you receive this, it'll say you're approved. You have 60 days to dispute it. You can dispute it, but you're going to end up going to court in front of a judge to dispute it. Now, if you've got rock solid evidence that's in the case file and it's glaringly apparent, then it may make sense for you, and you could be willing to roll the dice and go forward and do this. But if you don't have that proverbial smoking gun, you go in front of a judge that maybe has a 19% approval rate or 21% approval rate. They have done this before. They could say, I don't think you're disabled at all. I don't think this should have been approved. Done, right? So if that happens, if you've got enough time left before you become uninsured for Social Security, which is typically about 5 years after you stop working, you could apply again, but you're losing all those back benefits, which you've lost anyway. So you really have to kind of weigh this out. What's the risk reward? You know, even though there was $48,000 on the table for one individual here, he's like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to mess it. I don't want to mess with it. So that's your choice. Anyway, the Social Security disability definition of onset, that link will be below this. I sure hope this helps you folks out and you take action on this. This is money that you've worked for, that you've deserved. And I would love to hear some positive feedback that, yeah, man, this helped me get all my money. That'd be great. So here at the Disability Digest, if you like the work we do, we encourage you to subscribe, ring the bell, share this work with somebody else. If you would like to get assistance in getting through the approval process, to get approved fast and get all the tools and resources, or if you want to understand how to keep your benefits or maximize your benefits, we encourage you to join us as a member. It's no charge. It's the best way that we can help you out. Because when you join us as a member and you fill out your profile, we can get a really good understanding of what you need. Like if you're just getting started through the approval process, we can get you into our disability approval course with a supporting strategy, so you can get these RFC letters, you can understand what a brief is like, you can understand what you need to have to get your case approved. Even if you're already working with a representative, you can use this as kind of like checks and balances to do that. So that's how we can help you. So just look for a link around the video. Make it a great day. Stay tuned for more. Thanks.